This is Ryan Elliott for Boxing Social in association with Betfred. Delighted to be joined by Lyle Green of Sheer Sports today. Lyle, how are you first and foremost?
I'm doing great. How about you, Ryan?
Very good. Thank you so much for asking. Now, let's get straight into it. It's an uncertain time for a lot of people. Boxers are no different. You guys look after a lot of fighters. How have you sort of helped them stay positive and focused during this difficult time as well?
Well, I think the biggest piece with understanding where fighters are coming from, when I boxed, communication was key. So we keep in touch with all of our fighters and let them know, even if there really is no information to give, try and keep them up to date on what's going on, even from a health perspective, what to do to stay healthy, what not to do. Understand if they're sneaking into gyms, which we really don't want them to do, because the communication is really the biggest piece. We really stay in touch with our fighters much more, I believe, than most management companies. We've always been told, can't fall in love with your fighters. We've never listened to that because Sheer Sports is more of a family than just a boxing management company. So we try and keep our fighters as informed as possible, not just what's happening in the ring, but what's happening in their where they live, because we have fighters all over the world.
Now, we always think of the conditioning with a fighter and preparing for a fight, but a lot of fighting is mental as well, not just in the ring, but away from the ring, keeping on an even keel mentally. How important is that transparency and that trust for a fighter when they're waiting for dates and they're trying to keep busy and they're trying to keep themselves motivated?
It's really difficult. I mean, just in general waiting, I mean, I always say that the mental part is 90%. The physical part was what makes you a champion. But the reality is that this is different than any other time. It's always difficult mentally because you just never know when you're going to fight until the fight's been announced. And even when a fight is announced, sometimes fights fall out. So the mental part of the game is very, very difficult in general. This is beyond what normally happens, obviously, in the game, and just keeping our fighters physically and mentally ready is the biggest part. Part of that, again, is the communication, having them understand what's happening in their area, make sure that they understand it, make sure that they are doing things to keep physically fit, because the physical part certainly helps the mental part.
Now, as you mentioned before, you guys at Sheer Sports, you look after a lot of top talents now, and you do have the reputation for giving them that bit more care. But when you're looking to work with fighters and different talents around the world, what is it, talent aside, that you look for in a fighter before you approach them and decide you want to work with them?
That's a great question. We always look at character first. High character individuals are our primary concern, only because they come from a good family. If they have a good set of values, even if they've made mistakes, we understand that they're going to be able to, when they ascend, that they're going to be able to handle that ascension, both inside the ring and outside the ring. So high character individuals is paramount. Even if they're outstanding fighters and they're not high character individuals, we really will not work with them. So again, some of our guys have made some mistakes in the past, but that doesn't define them as people.
No, that to me seems a lot like something that goes on with recruitment in American sports in general. I know that, in baseball, American football, when they're looking at young players, for example, they like to get to know their families and get to know, what sort of person they are. Do you think that's something that boxing needs to catch up with? I know you're saying it's something you do there, but it's not always something promoters and managers look into.
Well, generally it's not. I mean, that you brought up in different sports. I mean, Antonio Brown was the greatest, probably the best wide receiver in football. Now, I know that that's disputable, but let's just say the top 10 receiver. Any team can use him, but he's out of football because he's not a high character individual. I don't know him, so I probably shouldn't say that, but by all stretches of imagination, it appears that he's not a high character individual. I think that it's important for boxing. I think that boxing is different in that a lot of times managers and promoters are taking advantage of these individuals and only looking for what they can do in the ring. And the reason it's a disservice, not because managers and promoters are deceitful, but the reason it's a disservice is because once they're out of once they're done boxing, they don't have anything to fall back on. And many of the fighters have come from nothing, and $5 to them is the same as $50,000. So managing their being high character and managing who they are, and helping them grow as their careers go on is so critically important. I mean, Bud Crawford is a great example of a high character individual who really understands what it means to be diplomacy for boxing in general. Yet you don't see him out in public eyes. Mel Herron, this guy's incredible. I mean, high top caliber person, even without boxing, but phenomenal inside the ring. And those are the people that we really need to celebrate. I think Canelo is a great ambassador for boxing too. So those type of people, high character individuals who we should really focus on from a boxing community are really will help us in sport in general.
Now we'll come on to the fighters you sort of work with and look after and where they're at. But first of all, Lyle, you're a very good amateur. I believe you're a Golden Gloves champion as well. How does what you're doing now, the sort of the more background stuff, the business side of stuff, compare to fighting, say?
I think whatever accomplishment I had as an amateur is trumped by the experience that I'm having as a manager. It has absolutely been 100% important to understand what these kids go through in the ring, and what they want to know. I mean, communication again is paramount. My trainer was the most important thing in the world. We do not make decisions on our fighters' trainers, because I always felt as long as it didn't matter who was in front of me, as long as I knew who was behind me and I could trust the person behind me. And I had great trainers, so not make decisions unless we're asked about the trainer. So my boxing experience has been very important to translate into being a manager. The best days of my boxing life have been what our guys have accomplished. Winning the NABF title. Ellis, in his last fight, I couldn't be more proud. So things like that. I'm nervous before any of our guys get in the ring. Things like that have really allowed me to appreciate what these kids are capable of doing and when they do it.
Now, let's talk about your stable of fighters and fighters you're working with. You've got a few fighters sort of in a similar position now where, you know, they've plied their trade, they've done their learning, and they're ready for all the names in their division. You know, if I think of Jay Quigley, Adam Lopez, Ronald Ellis as well, they're all guys who've said, yeah, I'm ready for anybody now. You must have a pretty critical sort of 12 months coming up when boxing gets back underway.
We thought 2020 was going to be a real big year for us. It's not just those two guys, but we've gotten a lot of our guys to a place where they are promoted, they're in a position to make a run. And we thought 2020 was going to be a damn year. Obviously, COVID is caused some issues where that cannot happen. But we still think that those fighters that we got to the point where they're ready to make a move, it would still happen towards the end of the year. Boxing has this huge opportunity. I mean, when you have an NFL draft that is more widely watched than any NFL draft in the past, nobody can beat that. It gives you just a huge opportunity from a sports perspective for people who want to watch. And you can still take those critical steps, even though you don't have as much time. Not just sheer sports, not just our fighters, but in general, a great opportunity for all of us to be back on the world scene and have more eyes on these fighters, especially the up-and-coming fighters.
Now, Lyle, let's start by talking about Adam Lopez. He gave a very good account of himself against Oscar Valdez. He was doing incredibly well in that fight. How quickly do you want to see Adam back in with sort of the top dogs in around his way after seeing how he performed in that fight and the work he's been doing with Buddy McGIRT as well?
Yeah, well, Adam's ready for, at the very least, a regional title and to compete on the world level. Adam will fight, and it's not difficult to have him take fight with Velvet. He's ready to take that. He is confident. We have a ton of confidence in him. Freddie Roach has a ton of confidence in him. They have a great relationship. He's ready to make a move. We believe he is going to be on ESPN or ESPN Plus on June 11th. We're excited for that fight, and he is ready to make a big splash. He made a great accounting of himself against a world-class fighter, and which fight wasn't stopped early, but everybody can see what he can do. He's an exciting fighter. He does have power in both hands. It's whereas people think he's so he's not afraid to mix it up. I love watching him. I love watching him fight. I was impressed with him as an amateur. So we're very excited about what Adam Lopez can do.
On to another couple of the fighters you've sort of been working with. I spoke to the McKenna Brothers a couple of weeks ago, two supreme talents coming out of Ireland. A lot of people are very excited about those guys. How confident are you that you are working alongside two of the sport's future big stars?
Yeah, those guys are probably the hardest boxers in the world, hardest working boxers in the world. And about high character, these guys, high character, great family, very laser focused. An outstanding trainer in the corner now, who is teaching them, which is very important. Fergal has done an incredible job getting them to a point where they are elite athletes and great boxers. Freddie Roach is teaching them. Is going beyond that, and will make a motion. There's no question. I mean, Stevie is just so exciting. He goes in and both of them know nothing but 100%. Aaron's a little bit more of a refined boxer than Stevie, but they both get it done, and they're very stuck away. Those kids, if the world hasn't seen either McKenna fight, they're missing out. They are exciting, focused, high character individuals who will have a very long career in boxing. We're, again, incredibly excited about those.
You mentioned the term high character there. How big a testament is it to them and their father that they made that decision to go over the States so early in their career and just completely dedicate themselves to being better each and every day? It's not often you see a fighter, never mind two fighters at such a young age, take themselves out of their comfortable environment, move so far away just to be dedicated to what they want to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible. And even Fergal, too, just the fact that he left everything behind to pursue his kid's dream. And it really is, make no mistake about it, Fergal is there for his kids. He is many times others aren't willing to step aside when they know that they cannot, when their kids can't grow, they just stick with it, and they almost force it on them. They want to be a part of their career, and also the limelight. The reality is that Fergal knew that he only is capable of taking them so far. He brought him to the United States. They are an extremely tight-knit family, and they all work very hard together for the common goal of them being world champions. I don't think that they would accept them.
Something you mentioned before, very exciting link up for both of them, working with esteemed trainer Freddie Roach now. How did that all sort of come to pass that they're now working with Freddie?
Well, they were traveling quite a distance to work with. He has also is a world-class trainer. Robert has a full gym. They would travel a couple hours a day to get there. Some days they would work. They would go out there and based on what was going on, who Robert was preparing for the next world title, they might not get the attention that they needed to grow. And again, Robert was the outstanding trainer. It just didn't make sense to make those trips. These guys go 100% no matter what they do. So when they go out, they're focused on training, and they come back and sit in the car for an hour and a half or 2 hours after pretty heavy sparring. just didn't make sense. And I have a relationship with Freddie from Freddie working for years now, but Freddie's best trainer in the world. He trains, and I'm biased because he trains a lot like our fighters, like I was trained. Fundamentals are extremely important. Boxers can be 100% perfect in a round. Might not be able to be 100% perfect in a fight, but they can be perfect in a round. And making sure that those fighters are perfect. He is an outstanding teacher, spending the time with the fighters. It just made sense to all of us really to not make the trip. And if Freddie was willing to train these kids, to get Freddie in the corner. We've already seen improvement. So we're happy with the outcome. Really excited that Freddie's a part of the team.
Now, as far as high quality sparring goes, these two young men that are trying to get better day in day out. I spoke to them about it. When you're sparring the likes of Jose Carlos Ramirez, Vasily Lomachenko, Garcia, I could go on. It's got to be so beneficial having such a big pool of sparring available on that West Coast to keep trying and measuring themselves up against who sits at the top right now within around them as well.
Fighters from around the world all gathering in Southern California. There's just a wealth of opportunity to spar and really learn during those sessions. So yeah, for all of them guys, there's world champions that come specifically to Southern California for sparring. Absolutely.
Now, Lyle, someone I want to ask you about, Jay Quigley, my colleague Rob and I, we flew over to Dublin before lockdown. We went and saw Andy Lee and Jay and all the other guys working in around there. Jay seems to have this new lease of life working with Andy Lee. He's strung together a couple of good wins now as well. He said he's ready for anybody. Is there any names or any sort of level you'd like to see him in with once this thing all gets going again?
Yeah, I mean, Jason's ready. Jason's ready to. I'd love to see Jason get 5 more fights before he challenged for a world title. Only because working with Andy has really brought him back to who he is as a boxer. I love Jason personally as a person, and I think he is an outstanding boxer. Some ups and downs with his career where maybe he thought that he was more of a puncher than a boxer. Jason, you've seen him in his amateur career, absolutely brilliant technically. And he is brilliant technically, and his power comes from putting his punches together, which he may have gotten away from a little bit. But Andy's got him focused. Andy's got him mentally ready. 5 fights, maybe that's too much, but maybe 3 fights before he steps into a world title. But he really is ready for anybody else in the top 10. I don't see any reason why not to put him out there against those type of world-class fighters, because he's just outstanding. I don't know any other way to describe Jason than outstanding. He's kind of an example of what our entire fighters are all about. I mean, high character individual, works within his community, outstanding boxer, will have a future in really whatever he wants to do after boxing. So the sky's the limit for Jason. He's extremely focused and ready. He's ready to go out and have those big fights, and hopefully we can get something for him done overseas. Right now, I don't know how else to do it in July or August, and that will be just one more step closer for him. But how much fun is it to talk to him? I mean, really, you immediately feel like you're his friend. I mean, whether you meet him for the first time or you've known him forever, he's just great to sit down and have a conversation with boxing or not.
Yeah, I must second that, Lyle. Now, before I do let you go, you know, you work with an abundance of fighters, not just guys that are pushing on to world level. You got guys just going through and starting their professional journeys as well. Is there anyone, for anyone watching this, that you could pinpoint in your stable and say, this is someone you need to keep an eye on? Who should we be looking for in the Sheer Sports stable?
Oh, you're putting me on the spot. Well, Victor Morales is very exciting. And the reason I'll talk about Victor is because he just started being promoted by Golden Boy. And he's at the point in his career where he's really ready to take big steps. So, I mean, I really can talk about any of 10 fighters, but Victor Morales is at the point where he's really ready to get on the world scene. Whereas some of our younger guys are still in the process of making a name for themselves. So, but Victor Morales, promoted by Golden Boy Promotions, another extremely high character individual, a guy who puts his hands together, a guy who has power, a guy who would step in the ring with a world champion right now if he was let him. But yes, Victor Morales is an exciting fighter that people can start to look for on a world level.
You mentioned there that Victor's one of them guys, and I'm sure you got a lot of fighters that you work with that are the same, where if you let them, they were going with anybody, regardless of whether anybody else thinks they're ready. How important is it for you guys to sometimes just rein them in a little bit and make sure that timing is the key here?
Well, I think that part of doing that is the relationship that we have with the trainers, because the trainers will tell us, I am not a big show up at the gym guy, because I think it's a distraction. Our gym, nobody was allowed in our gym, so I think it is a distraction when people are coming in and out of the gym. So I tend not to show up in the gym. So the only way that we can properly evaluate where fighters are is to hear it directly from the trainer. So the trainers do a pretty good job of telling us where their fighters are and give us an opportunity to work together so that when the trainer does want to step up to the world level, that we together can pull them down. And that's a very important piece of what we do, is working with the trainers to understand where they are. Because I think that Ken and I share the same opinion. Going up to their training, unless to spar or to do something that is critical from a business perspective, it's more of a distraction than anything else. So relying on trainers to work with us together is absolutely paramount to our business and reining our fighters in.
All right, Lyle, I've kept you for near enough half an hour here, so I think we'll call it there. But thank you so much for your time. We'll catch you very soon, and good luck with everything, all boxing related matters when everything gets going again.
I really appreciate it, Ryan. Just being able to get on and talk to you about boxing is really important for boxing in general. Getting the word out, keeping it in the front of boxing fans' minds, but also a great opportunity to get new fans. You do a great job, and everyone that Sheer Sports really appreciates everything that you do for not just having us on, but for boxing in general.
Great, thank you very much, Lyle. All the best, and I'm sure we'll catch you very soon.
Great, have a great day.